We spend most of our adult lives working, earning, saving, and contributing to one system or another, all in hope that when it's time to retire, the system will take care of us. But for many, that hope often meets uncertainty. How does the pension system really work? Who manages these funds? And why do issues like delayed payments and lack of trust persist despite years of reforms? Well, on this episode of Untangle, we're taking a closer look at the concept of pension, how it began, how it functions in today's economy, and what it truly means for the financial security of workers and retirees. My name is Blessing Dagin. Welcome to Untangle. Well, helping us make sense of it all is Mr. Benjamin Adamu Anka, a trained economist specializing in monetary economics. His research spans monetary policy, public policy analysis, and the economics of development. He's passionate about contributing to informed economic policy making. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Benjamin.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a blessing.
All right, so we're talking about pension today. Let's start from the very beginning. What are pensions? What is a pension? Break it down for us.
Okay. Pensions means different dimensions. Yeah, it means different things to different people.
Okay.
Yeah. To the worker, first, pension is a sort of compensation that comes after the rendering of service within, that is, outside the working age. For instance, in Nigeria, you have the working age between 18 to about 60, 65, even, yes, 65, depending on the ministry or agency or department of government. So the money is the compensation people get when they are out of service is pension. So to the retiree who is no longer working, it is his take home, what is going back home with if once the tap shuts off, the monthly tap, when it shuts off, that is what he's taking home. And then for the government, they call it, it's a sort of appreciation package. It could be a sort of appreciation package. And then from the policy maker or researchers or within that aspect, we can look at it as a sort of inclusion of this class of people, because we want them to keep on spending. We want them not to drift down below the poverty line. So we want to continue having their contribution to the economy, though it can never be as much as it was when they were in service. So pension, the whole idea of pension is simply what a retiree gets after he has worked out of service.
Interesting. So now, where does this come from? Since it's some form of compensation, where does the money come from? And where does this idea really stem from? Who thought about it? Even if there is no particular person, where can we, trace back the, should I say, genesis?
Okay.
This?
Yes. Of course, it should come from somewhere. If there is a worker who gives service, and then over time, is no longer able to provide such service, okay? So it will definitely come from the man or the organization that oversees this relationship between the worker and the man who hires his work values. So definitely, when you look at the developed world, where the revolution, revolution, I'm talking about the boosting of productivity came from,
Yeah.
You can see that there has been a transition from one age to another and all towards boosting productivity. And of course, looking at this, while productivity is increasing and then the services of humans are being tapped, it gets to a point where these services are not forthcoming. And of course, they have to go back home. So you will see the role of the union of workers, okay, going out to say, okay, we don't go home like that because we don't have anything to live on. That is on one hand. Then you will see also the government and policy makers who are there to ensure that relationship moves sweetly and and gains become mutual. That when you tap from me, I tap from you. Okay, and of course they also have the responsibility of making sure that the society is lived above average. And for that cause, of course, they thought about such a protection for the worker who is going home. So all I'm saying is that, of course, this must have begun in those countries where productivity has been accelerated over the years, human labors have been utilized to a great extent, and of course, poverty has become such a thing these authorities don't want to see, because it shouldn't be seen in the first instance, even though it is told to us that the poor will continue to live among us. But we do not desire. Poverty is such a thing that is undesired in the society. So, of course, they thought about that. So, to regulate, they made provision for pension.
All right. So are there types of pensions, or it's just one way it is practiced?
Okay, there are different systems that have transited over time. You've had changes over time, just as we spoke about production, there have been trials over time. There was time the Europeans came to Africa to get humans to work for them. There are times they said, look, we can do better. Before they came to get humans in Africa, there were methods, of course. And after the humans, they moved again to another method to see if it works better. And of course it did. Now you can see that today we're talking about robotics, artificial intelligence, and all of that. So the same way, you have the initial state-managed pension.
Okay.
That, okay, states make provision. How do we do to cater for our workers who are no longer active in service? Okay. They have paid their dues, In Nigeria, such people are called senior citizens, and of course, globally, they are senior citizens. They have paid their dues in different ways. So we used to have the state-managed pension, where provision is made at the end, at the point of every exit, to provide what would take care of these retirees. Okay. Later on, the new thoughts emerged about the contribution. How do we contribute? Now, some of the factors that gave birth to that is issues of sustainability. Issues of sustainability, number one, especially in the global or in the civilized world or advanced countries, we kept on having issues of aging population. Every provision is made through the active population. Then we began to have the aging population, or the inactive population, so to say, becoming more than the active population. So a fewer people were expected to provide for the larger ones, provide for themselves, and also provide for the larger ones. and it became almost unsustainable. And of course, in all of this time, we kept on also having issues of dwindling revenue. Dwindling revenue. Sometimes you have money, sometimes you don't have money. And that was why even in Nigeria, in the early stage or before now, I think before 2004, when we adopted the contributory pension scheme, the first act in Nigeria was in 1979. Okay, even though we adopted the British system around 1951, effective around 1946. Okay, so at that time, you used to see retirees with placards, we no go agree, we have not been paid for how many months, and all of that. So the second stage became the contributory. The contributory gave this vision, like being being proactive. You save before the time of retirement. So government is making the provision, their own part of the provision, long before retirement. In fact, from the day this person is hired. That is number one. Then number two, the worker is also making the provision. He's also committed into it, because it became a two-way thing instead of the one way we used to have. So it became contributory, such that at the point of retirement, your pension is also retiring, or that savings is also retiring. So you get into it, you have access into it. So at this point, we no longer have, we will no longer have, or we will no longer be having the sort of we no go agree for the fact that this provision is made. Yes. So and you can see the provision also has a lot of other benefits that it does. Okay, so that we may get to talk about. So that's the transition now. Then it was moved also further. That look, it's not just about, it shouldn't just be about government official, government workers. Can we also have the private sector get into it? Now, beyond this arrangement also of the contributory pension scheme, there's also the individual arrangement. There are different organizations. I know of some insurance companies where even you as an entrepreneur, like an independent entrepreneur, just a one-man business, for instance, the vulcanizer by the street, can just walk to them, okay, I want to be saving some money from now to when I'll retire. You give your time yourself. When you get out of service, I'll be dropping something so that will be used for pension for me at the end of the day. I think they call that deferred annuity or so. Okay. Yes, so you can do that. So you can see that there has been a development in the system. So I mentioned contributory. Yeah. I mentioned the state managed, or the defined system. Yeah. And then I also mentioned the individually invoked practice.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. All right, so we're going on a very short break, but before we do that, I wanted to ask, is there a distinction between insurance and pension, since you mentioned insurance?
Yeah. Based on the provision of the contributory pension scheme, the Pensions Reform Act. I mean, the Pension Reforms Act in Nigeria, it gives the insurance company a mandate. Yes, there's a provision for the insurance companies to operate. Where do they operate? They operate at the time of retirement. Within the period an individual is in service, he deals with his PFAs, what we call the pension fund administrators. Okay. Yes, I think there are about four players, I think 3 players in the pension scheme or pension system in Nigeria. First, we have the pension fund administrators. These are the people you interface with. They open a retirement savings account for you, and they and they take your details. You have an account, and they keep on informing you of how your pension savings is doing. Okay. Now, then we also have pension fund managers, pension fund managers. Those ones, they are very fewer than the pension fund administrators. Their own responsibility is strictly about managing the pension funds. They do investments, they take investment decisions, look at the modalities and all of that. Theirs is managing the money. Yes. So maybe if I should break it down further, it's like, is it a financial secretary and a treasurer?
Oh, okay.
Or so high in your local arrangement?
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
The secretary tells you this is what we, but keeping the money, is with the treasurer who has access. He knows where he's keeping it. He has a choice. Maybe according to the law, he might keep it in, there is this asusu, they call it in Hausa, and other, he has different methods. So then, at that level now, so at retirement, you have an option of either to continue with the pension fund administrator in doing a program called programmed withdrawal, or you move to an insurance company where you do a program called annuity, life annuity. That's what they call it. So that's where the insurance company comes in. Yes. So based on the Pension Reform Act. Okay. But then the individual practice of the insurance, the pension system is that some of these insurance companies and maybe other organizations too make this provision for a long-term savings.
Okay.
For a long-term savings. Yes, and of course, most of the times, analysts have preferred the insurance companies because they bear a lot of risk. Like, for instance, there are such savings that takes on risk attached to it, or some of them look at targets. I want to save, you can say, I want to save 30 million naira from now to when I'll be retiring.
Okay.
Okay, and you work according to that. They give you the modalities. This is how you're going to do. This is what you will do. And beyond that target of money, it also comes with life benefits. For instance, now, while you're struggling to meet with that target, if something happens to the account holder, okay, if something happens, they are making provision for him. At some point, it could even mean giving him even the target. Once the condition, what happens, fits into the condition or term spelled before such occurred, before the occurrence, they get to that. So like I said, the insurance company comes in the process of after retirement.
Okay.
They come in after retirement. You have, so before retirement, you have just the PFEs. You deal with the PFEs, and then on the other side, you have the pension fund managers.
Okay.
Then after retirement, you have an option whether with the PFA or to move to an insurance company.
All right, let's take a quick break.
Thank you.
All right, now we're going to a very short break. When we come back, the conversation on pension continues. Please stay with us.
Everybody has a stake in making the world a better place with love and compassion. As we thrive daily, we continue to strive to face the many challenges that faces our Earth, because together we all matter. On one side, we are exploring the captivating stories, the trends, the glamour, while on the other hand, we're looking at the love, the care and compassion from our champions. In our Stars Quiet Cove lies the burning passion for humanity, which is seldom known and unsung to the world. Join me on Famed to look at the flip side of your favorite beyond the regular.
For 2 seasons, Timeline has taken you on a journey of exploring real-life issues and solutions. Well, we are on to season 3 of Timeline, a space where we talk about real issues shaping our world. Here, we sit down with voices that matter, with people who are driving change and making impact. We are talking about more than just problems. We're talking about the attainment of our collective commitment, the global goals, the SDGs, and of course, our community-specific targets. Our conversations aren't just about highlighting problems. They're about finding solutions that truly works, solutions that touches lives and impact the globe. An appraisal of how close we are in meeting our global and community targets. We create rooms for honest, thought-provoking conversations, a ride that you wouldn't want to miss. Well, this is Timeline, where conversations lead to solutions that change lives.
Culture connects us beyond borders. It's a bridge between traditions, creativity, and the future.
Culture is alive, shaping identities and communities every day.
Art tells stories of resilience and vision.
Artists blend tradition with innovation.
Cultural preservation creates sustainability and empowerment.
Culture evolves and adapts.
Music and dance unites communities through movement.
And right here, in the heart of our cities, artists and creators are keeping these cultures alive.
On Culture Cove, let's explore,
celebrate, and preserve the arts and culture that define us.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. This is still Untangled right here on Hued Network, and we are talking about pensions. All right, so let's continue. All right, so we've been able to create a very solid foundation for what pensions are and how they get, and the operations around it, basically. But now let's talk about maybe, are there some economic factors or principles that you think affect the survival or sustainability of pensions in a given economy?
Oh, certainly. If you understand economics, you would understand that economics demands that everything works under its principles, even though the reality of things are that some things are parallel. Yes, the operations of some aspect of the society are parallel to economic principles. They will never agree. That's let me use this word. So pensions, of course, everything about pension, almost everything is economics. Everything is about economics. Now, number one, you will talk about pensions as it involves the current system, which is the contributory system. Of course, is a form of capital formation. It's a form of capital formation in the country. Now, if you look at pension systems are rated, I think, in about 2 basic ways. Now, number one, the total capital, the total asset they have.
Okay.
Yes, the total asset they have. Number two, we're looking at the asset to the rate of GDP, percentage of that asset to GDP. That's why in Europe, you talk about the Netherlands is among the leading countries in terms of the system.
Okay.
And in Africa, you're talking about countries like Namibia.
Okay.
Namibia in Africa has about, its asset is about 103% of its GDP. That's it. It's this thing. In Nigeria, though if you're talking about size, the asset, we have larger assets, but the percentage to GDP, Nigeria is bigger than Namibia, you know. So our rates, the GDP is about 7%. So that's to say we have a long way to go. So number one, it's a form of capital formation, because these monies are investment monies. Okay, yes, and if well managed, of course, you can tell that the return will go a long way in boosting in the economy, accelerating growth, and helping us to get to where we desire to get to. That's number one. Number two, that is a stabilization measure. Of course, it gives us a measure, a tool with which we can stabilize the economy. Look at the pension, like your normal savings. How do you feel when you remember you have some savings in?
Somewhere.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
When there is trouble, you say, wait for me. You go there and you come back stronger. So it gives us like this shock absorber within the economy. So of course you can see that policymakers it will be interested. They are interested. The rise of the development of the pension asset, of course, will bring smiles to managers of the economy, because they have something to. Okay, so next, you can also look at it within the area of social protection. Social protection, of course. Yes, we don't want to see poverty. We don't want to see anyone not actively involved in the play and interplay of the economy. So, and of course, these people are provided for, they save, and they're provided for to be able to take part in the economics of the economy. So you can see it. And of course, it helps in bridging between generations. It helps in bridging between generations, of course. It helps us to have the savings of the aging population beyond just the physical infrastructure and other things. Now we're having some assets set aside, okay, from the aging or the older population for this subsequent population to make use of. So, and the management in Nigeria so far, they've done well. They've done well. The pension assets, in Nigeria, the pension funds or the asset in Nigeria is around 20 something trillion, maybe around 23 trillion or so. Okay, over 23 trillion. So that's to tell you that, and if you look at it compared to 2024 GDP budget estimate, for instance, what was approved for was around 28 trillion. So you can see that the pension asset is growing to almost the same level. Okay, yes, growing to almost the same level to be able to finance our budget. Okay, so we believe, and we're having more and more contribution. The base is widening by the days. More people are getting employment through maybe the private sector drive. More and more people, the last reform of the act aimed at bringing more people into the net. That is the 2004 provision, that's the act for 2004, required firms to have at least 5 staff before they can join. But now 3. If you have 3 staff, you can join the contributory pension. Yes. And it does a lot of good for you, because your remittances in that regard are not taxable. They are not taxable. So any money contributed is removed, is saved from tax. So you're having, instead of paying it as tax, you're making it as a provision for your staff when they retire. So that is growing. So entrepreneurship development in the country, more and more people getting into business, more, is creating more employment opportunities, and we're creating more assets through the pensions system.
All right, so you've sort of like touched on some benefits,
Yes.
if I may say, of, the pension scheme and all of that. So briefly, are there some, say, disadvantages to it?
Oh, that's true. That's true. I would say some challenges. Not really,
Challenges.
yes, not really disadvantages. Challenges, of course, in Nigeria particularly.
Okay.
Yes, you can see that we have left where we used to be, because the retiree today in Nigeria is a big guy. Like, it's getting to have the status he's deserving of. So he can just go to the village, and even in his farm, or if he tries to just throw around, he can receive a lot. Of his his monthly stipend, or you can be anywhere and just look at how that is by the deployment of technologies. You can see how your pension, your retirement savings is faring. Okay. So, but there are basic challenges in the pension system in Nigeria. Number one, the level of awareness is very, very poor. It is very poor. Many Nigerians believe the older system is better than the existing system.
Which is contributory.
No, that's the defined benefit system.
Okay.
The older system, yes, the state managed.
Yeah.
Yes, the one that required government to make the total contribution. Okay, they believe is better than the present one. Okay, but you can see everything has to boil around sustainability. That's what we believe in economics. Yes, it goes beyond can we do it. It goes beyond can we do it. Will it be profitable? Another big question is, can we sustain it over time? So that was why that was set aside for this new one to come. And why are they still behind? They're still behind because the board is responsible, yes, to put them in the vision of those who thought of the contributory pensions scheme. Okay. Yes, these bodies have not done enough. They have not done enough. So, and that is why you have this ignorance. So the level of awareness has to be scaled up so that people will understand how it works. Then number two, there is the issue of, there is the issue of dishonesty. Okay. Yes, honesty, the rate of honesty is very low in the system. And almost if you look at it institutionally, it is across board. You see, for the lack of awareness on the part of workers, it is making them to be shortchanged significantly, even within their organizations. Because organizations are to make remittances to those PFEs. Yes, okay. Maybe monthly, as the case may be. Now, there are sometimes, either by commission or omission, or what, however, these organizations do not make these remittances. Now, the worker is supposed to know and be given the opportunity to ensure to do this audit himself. Okay. Check out across this months, has my organization been able to pay its part? Now, most workers are unaware, so they don't do that. And of course, this organization sometimes is an error, but we have instances where deliberately the people in charge of these remittances, I don't know, did something with these monies. Okay, and that is why you would see these challenges or this very problem will make you to retire. Maybe you went into service the same way with someone, and then he retired. You both retire, and you might get to see that the person is having more in his RSA than yours. So there's need for that check to ensure that the remittances are this thing. Then, on the other hand, the pension fund administrators, of course, the pension fund administrators, generally, the perception about honesty in Nigeria is low. The perception about honesty in Nigeria is very low. So, of course, we need to advocate for greater honesty and proper management of those funds within their own ranks. That's the PFAs and the pension fund managers. That what really comes, the accruals from those investments really get to the rightful, the right individuals. That's the owners of those accounts.
We're
and then
really out of
number
time,
3,
so we could briefly just round up.
Okay. Then I'll also talk about the aspect of reception, the aspect of human relation in this PFAs and other organizations that are within the pension system. Now, even from the pension departments, pension departments, the PFAs, and maybe other organizations, maybe even the insurance companies. There is this human relation. I think it's so poor. It is so poor. These people have right. It is their money, and everything about it is about them. But sometimes you have this experience of lordship over them and their money. What is meant for them is trying to put them under it, which is a great challenge, and is making them to feel, maybe the older one would have been better, because here I am subjected to many difficulties. I am asked to do this, to do that, toast about, but so these are the challenges within the system. Yes, if these are overcome, of course, we will go to a greater height.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Benjamin.
You're welcome.
All right. So we've successfully untangled pension. Now you know better, and you also know that the waiting period for pensions are actually worth it. Well, my name is Blessing Dagin, and I've been in the studio with Benjamin Adamu Anka, and he just untangled pension. See you next time.